I can't think. What am I supposed to?
We going from the top?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium Miguel. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
And it's Dan.
We got a late arrival from Nick Delatorre.
Yeah, he said he'll be here soon, but for now, I like to think that Nick is on a bender and he's just ending that bender.
Yeah, you got some type of irresponsibility on him, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So Silk, you had it seems like a heck of a day today. How's your weekend, and how was interviewing or hosting Ken Griffey Jr. today?
Oh man, that was surreal. The weekend. What did I do this weekend? Everything's starting to blend together a little bit. So let me try to rewind my Saturday.
I'm sure you probably went to some sort of green market.
Oh yeah, Green Market Saturday. Shout out to the Green Market, man. Got some fresh granola. It's hard to find good granola. I don't like the Publix store-bought stuff. I like to get the fresh stuff. So that's about it. Couldn't catch that game on the couch. I streamed it from my phone. So it was good for me to get out and enjoy the nice weather. We got a break in the weather down here in South Florida. It's kind of cool. How was your weekend?
It was good. I was actually down in Miami. One of my best friends from my fraternity got married. So this has been about 2 years in the making. Him and his wife are both Indian. Both of their parents are from India. And so this wedding was supposed to be in India in February of 2020. And so COVID canceled that. Supposed to be in Puerto Rico earlier this year. COVID canceled that. So they're finally able to have it. This is a different level of opulence. Just more bread than anybody could ever imagine. They had stilt walkers. The wedding seemed like an EDM concert at times. They probably had, I don't know, $30,000 worth of flowers. It was the most extravagant wedding that I could ever imagine, ever hope for my buddy Mo. But congratulations to Mo and to Usha. But I did watch that game with a bunch of UF graduates that I went to school with. And boy, that was just not a pretty sight to see. So for everything that was beautiful all weekend, it certainly was an ugly Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, you gotta count the blessings in your personal life when your football team just not hitting on all cylinders. Yeah, like you said, I had Ken Griffey swing by today. So Players TV, which is owned by Chris Paul, Kyrie Irving, I think DeAndre Johnson, a few other basketball players on this TV network. It's a streaming TV network. They had an interview set up with one of the hosts in Ken Griffey. So they reached out to me about booking the studio a couple weeks ago, which was pretty exciting. They came in, like Griffey was there for like 3 hours, man. Just great vibes. I had him on the podcast before, so to just meet him in person was pretty dope. It's pretty dope.
Awesome, man.
Good time.
That's awesome. So shout out to you and your endeavors. But before we get into the show today, we're going to start with a friend of the show, Eric Fawcett, to talk about the Gators basketball victory over Florida State on Sunday, the first time that they've done that in, I believe, 7 years, or it might have been 8 years. I think they lost 7 in a row. But quick announcement, you're listening to this Tuesday morning. Tuesday night, Corey, myself, and Nick will be speaking to the Jacksonville Gator Club, which we're excited about. We appreciate the opportunity to join. It's going to be at the Mudville Grill, that 3105 Beach Boulevard. They're in one of my favorite cities in America, Jacksonville, Florida. So again, the Mudville Grill on Beach Boulevard. We'll be there. Starts about 6:30. So we appreciate the opportunity to speak. Look forward to meeting you guys there. But before we do that, I know Nick is just about to join us here in a minute. But Corey, let's do a Brunt ad read, and then let's get on with Eric.
One time for the great folks at Brunt Insurance and Financial Services. There you go. Anything you need insured from the Panhandle to the Keys, my man Greg can take care of you. 954-589-2204 or visit bruntinsurance.com on the web. home, auto, life insurance, business insurance, renter's insurance, anything you may need insured, my man Greg will take care of you. Burninsurance.com. Back to you, Daniel.
Shout out to Greg. Eric, it is a pleasure to have you on. It is the first time in the history of this illustrious podcast that we've had the chance to talk to you after the Gators have beat Florida State in basketball.
Yeah, good news in the swamp, baby.
So we're back to being a basketball school. Eric Fawcett from Gator Country. Eric, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Not only is this the only time in the history of your podcast that you've gotten to break down a Gators win over the Seminoles, but also in my writing career, I mean, 4 or 5 years I've been writing about the team. And unfortunately, this is the first time I've gotten to write even about them beating the Seminoles. So yeah, it was 7 straight losses. Billy Donovan lost in his last year at Florida, and then 6 straight L's for Mike White, but finally got one, and I'm sure that felt pretty good for him.
Eric, I got the chance to catch the second half of the game. The first half, I was flying back from Miami. Talk to us a little bit about what the Gators did. It seemed like they dominated from the beginning until the end, and I even saw that they went on a 16-0 streak at one time. Break down the game for us, and what is it about this Gators team that's finally able to get FSU the L?
Well, I think to kind of talk about the win, it's also kind of an overarching theme of like what's different about this team versus the last couple of years of Florida basketball. And that all starts with experience. The last couple of years, the Gators have been one of the youngest teams in the country. And when you've got a young team early in the season taking on a team like Florida State that has been one of the older teams in the country, that's really athletic, that plays great defense, you've suddenly got a lot of young kids playing scared. So you look at this year's team with all these transfers. The Gators are really old. They're the 16th oldest team in the country. They were like 240th last year, and the year before that, when things kind of really went off the rails, when they, started the season as a national championship, they were 347th in the country, one of the youngest teams in the country. So this year is just really different than the last couple of years. Really old team, really veteran team. And a lot of guys that have been through these battles, a lot of guys that have played in these big games. So, you go take on a team like Florida State and they're up for the challenge. And then something else that's been kind of really good for Florida basketball is they have totally changed the way they play offense. After kind of most of the Mike White era, using the same kind of schemes offensively that have never totally fit the personnel, have never totally worked. Suddenly he spaced it out like an NBA team, going 5 out behind the 3-point line. And that made it a lot easier to score in a team like Florida State that is so long and so athletic that they can pack the paint and use that kind of length. So, the initial question, how do they beat Florida State? Well, you string them out, and suddenly this team that's so long and athletic, suddenly they can't kind of build off each other's length by all sitting with a foot in the paint. So Florida was able to really stretch them out. And then something that was, shocking to me and everyone watching was the fact that Florida dominated on the glass, which is something that is normally a Florida State thing. And part of the reason why was, again, you stretch them out, you play 5 out behind the 3-point line, shot goes up. No one's already around the rim defensively for Florida State. Suddenly they're 50-50 balls. And, Colin Castleton just wanted it more than everyone. 8 offensive rebounds for him. And then on the defensive end, Florida also showing some changes from what they did differently. They did something called icing ball screens. And when you have a ball screen on the side of the floor, what they do is they get their ball handler on the inside, on the high side of that screen, and try to push everything to the sideline. And when your team like Florida State, super athletic, you don't want them getting to the middle of the floor, getting into the paint, exploding and finishing. So Florida did everything to try to keep them on the sideline, use that sideline as a second defender. And you can probably tell my enthusiasm because I'm pretty enthused here because a lot of similar play from Mike White basketball over the last couple of years, things that haven't really worked at the high major level. Suddenly he's showing this ability to make all these changes. And suddenly you're seeing a team that really looks different than the last couple of years.
Eric, that was a fantastic breakdown. Some of which I understood. It seems like the Gators basketball team was very balanced. There was DeRougie had 15, Castleton had 15, Jones had 12, McKissick had 12, Fleming had 9 points. And then, obviously Castleton dominated the boards with 16 rebounds. Do you imagine moving forward, the Gators are going to be pretty balanced offensively that way? Or do you think that was just kind of the nature of the way that the game played out on Sunday?
I do think this is going to be kind of the script the rest of the way. Florida doesn't have that Trey Mann last year who just kind of ran 100 ball screens. Their best player is probably Colin Castleton, but it's kind of tough when your center is your key cog offensively. That's not really someone who you give the ball to with 2 minutes left in a tight game and say, make something happen. So whether it's Mike White talking or whether it's been the players talking, whether it's been Colin Castleton or any of the other players, they all talk about the balance. They all talk about unselfishness. And that was also something you saw against Florida State. Just a lot of guys willing to make that extra pass. A lot of guys that are just as happy when their teammate scores when they score. So this is going to be kind of a regular theme when you just kind of look up and down the box score and see a lot of even point totals.
So this may be my last question. I'm sure I'll come up with something, but are the Gators good at basketball this year?
They are good for the reasons I laid out before. And again, I'm tweeting out a lot of the stuff I'm talking about video-wise.
A lot of me.
You know what? Big trust issues.
So here's the thing again. So I think the year that kind of really had a lot of people turn on Mike White was 2 years ago when, again, they bring in the 5 stars, they bring in Kerry Blackshear, and things don't go very well. And there's an offense that totally doesn't fit the talent, and you just have guys that are not playing up to their potential because the scheme does not fit them. Then you go into last year, and what happens? Nothing changes. He runs the same scheme, still doesn't fit the personnel, and they play badly. And that is where, you know, when you see them going back to the same things that aren't working, that's a real cause for frustration. And it was the same thing in roster building. It was the same thing in scheme. Going back to the same thing, that's frustrating. But then you go into this year, you build a roster totally differently with transfers. You bring in a totally different style of basketball player. The Gators have a lot more guys that can handle the ball than the last couple of years. They have a number of guys who can shoot, which wasn't the case last couple of years. And then they play a different style of basketball. Like I said, finally changing some things up defensively and then just totally rehauling the offense. So I can totally understand people who don't trust Mike White, who don't trust the Gators based off the last couple of years. But I will tell you this, they are tangibly doing stuff differently, which was not the case last year. And the fact that there are those changes, it gives me a little bit of optimism.
Well, I predicted Florida to win the game, thanks to your podcast host.
Hey, welcome aboard, Nick.
Thanks to your podcast host, co-host who I talked to in Jacksonville. My question was, when they went 5 out like that, well, who would that affect Collins' rebounding? And obviously it didn't versus FSU, but do you see that being an issue where because of Florida's offensive style, they might get beat, in the future on the glass? And if not, how does that because if people like me who don't watch as much basketball as you are watching, you're like, well, no one's there, they're going to get beat rebounding by somebody, and that's going to cost them the game. Why is that either true or not true?
Well, again, when you've got 5 guys all behind the 3-point line, defenders are also going to be out there as well near the 3-point line. So when a shot goes up, it's like no one's in good rebounding position. And when no one's in good rebounding position, it benefits the offense. So that's also why you saw Anthony DeRuggi just like soaring in from the corner, or Flanders Fleming soaring in from the corner. Like it kind of benefits some of those athletic guys in the offensive rebounding battle. And, the thing is, if Florida doesn't rebound, at least they'll be getting back in transition defense. That was another key against Florida State, who normally just steals them in transitions. I say normally because they've done it for 7 straight years against the Gators, because of that spacing where you don't have guys hanging out by the rim. If you do turn the ball over, if there is a long rebound, you've already got guys back. So even if they don't offensively rebound as well at times, they're still going to be better in their transition defense, which is maybe less sexy, but equally effective.
And then did they almost out Florida State Sunday afternoon, just in the way that they played them?
I think the book's kind of out. And again, one thing with Florida State, they're always so good in transition, but they're really bad in the half court. Like when things slow down and they have to run set offense, it became pretty apparent that Florida State does not have many individual creators. So I think that'll totally be the book. I think there's teams that are going to play Florida State and not send anyone to the offensive glass, and they're all going to just run back as soon as the shot goes up and say, okay, Florida State, you can't beat us in transition. You have to try to beat us by running offense. And that's not going to work super good. And I'll also say too, Florida State always has 107 footers, which is just crazy. But it seems like these guys this year just aren't the regular kind of monsters dominating inside that Florida State has had usually. So I do think there's a couple ACC teams that are going to be pretty happy that the Gators might have shown, just how to beat them.
And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but when you look at the way the transfer portal has kind of changed things, and typically I think when you get to the tournament, you need, either really strong point guard play, or you look at teams that were successful, made deep runs that were older. Obviously Florida's older this year, but they're all grad transfers or transfers that are older. Is this a team you think, obviously only 2 games, but a team you think that can make a run in March?
Yeah, it's teams like this that are really old that, like you kind of mentioned, that do well in March. And we talked about this actually earlier, Nick, while you were stuck in traffic. But this is the 16th oldest team in the country this year, which is totally different than the last couple of Mike White basketball teams. And when you look at some of the teams that like quote unquote surprised, you look like Oregon State last year, you look at UCLA, some of these teams, and you kind of say what's kind of in common with these teams is like they play pretty good defense and they're really old. And you also kind of see a general theme with Florida's transfers, like Brandon McKissick from UMKC, not a good basketball team. Flanders Fleming from Charleston Southern, one of the worst teams in college basketball. Boston College with CJ Felder, like Myron Jones with Penn State. Those were 4 teams that were not making damage in March because they didn't even get there. They weren't getting to postseason play. They all came and just said, we came to Florida because we want to play in March, and winning is so important to us. And that's something that we saw against Florida State. Again, just showing in their unselfishness, not caring if they get a bucket as long as their teammate does, because they just want to win. And I think that's kind of a recipe to win in the NCAA tournament.
Eric, so I know that the Gators rehauled their coaching staff this offseason. I think that was the last time we had you on when we talked about the additions of Pastrana and I'm forgetting the coach's name from FAU. How have they fit into Mike White's system? How are they doing with adapting to the players that they have on the team now?
Well, first of all, Eric Pastrana, who came over from Oklahoma State, he's a South Florida guy. He's just been getting everyone he wants in recruiting. So, I mean, we'll maybe get to this on our next podcast or sometime in the offseason. But Florida's got a great 2022 class, and pretty much, most of it is because Eric Pastrana is an incredible recruiter. But Eric Pastrana came from Oklahoma State, where they really kind of have a pragmatic head coach and Mike Boynton, who likes to change things up offensively and play a lot of different styles. And I think that Pastrana has been exposed to a lot of different styles of offensive play versus, again, like we talked about earlier with Mike White, he kind of had his same staff from Louisiana Tech that all came over to Florida. So it was a lot of guys who thought similarly about how to try to score the basketball. So I think that bringing in, Akeem Mistine, who's the Florida Atlantic coach who came over, and then Eric Pastrana definitely bringing over just, again, I just feel like when Mike White had his same assistants forever, there's probably a lot of just people thinking the same way. And he brought in guys who have been used to playing different styles. Oklahoma State ran really good offense last year. And I think that they're, especially with Oklahoma State, who is running that kind of NBA style 5-out stuff, it's pretty easy to see that influence. So Mike White has always been more confident on the defensive side of the basketball. So you saw a lot of that intensity against Florida State, but you also saw an overhauled offense that looked a lot better and worked a lot better.
I love it. Silk, you got any questions, my friend?
No, Matt, I didn't watch, man. We actually got an offense now, so I got to tune in, Eric. That's on me. Shout out to that. It was a blowout too. When I looked at the timeline, I seen that big win, and I seen the guys celebrating in the locker room. I thought that was dope. Mike White had a little moment there, and got over that Florida State hump. So shout out to that.
Do you think that was the best locker room celebration of the weekend?
Oh my God, let's get into that later.
Eric, Gators schedule coming up. They play. Is it Milwaukee? I think on Wednesday.
Milwaukee on Thursday, who is sneaky interesting because they've got a one and done kind of lottery pick talent who should be at Duke right now, but his dad is actually the coach at Milwaukee. So went to play for his dad. So when Florida scheduled this game, it's a bye game that we're probably just ready to win by 20, and they still should win comfortably, but you will see a future NBA player in Patrick Baldwin Jr.
Awesome. Well, Eric, remind everybody, I'm sure everybody that listens already follows you on Twitter, and remind everybody where they can do that and where they can read your articles and pump your podcast a little bit.
Yeah, I know you guys have a lot to talk about today, so I appreciate you still making time for some basketball talk.
What?
So you can follow me at Twitter at efawcett7, and then I write at Gator Country. All my articles are there, and then I also co-host the Florida Basketball Hour podcast with Neil Blackman. So that's where you can get all my stuff.
Hey, Eric, before you leave, I want to ask you: you're doing color commentary or you're doing commentary for a college up there in Alberta?
Yeah, it's got my first chance to do that. So yeah, just doing color commentary it's super fun, man. I love it. It's just more chances to talk basketball, and that's always good.
I love it, man. We'll stay bundled up. I'm sure the temperatures are already dipping into the negatives up there. Stay warm, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Appreciate that. Take care, guys.
Thank
All
you,
right,
bud.
Eric, hold it down, my dude.
All right, boys. Always love talking to Eric. Big friend of the program, and always enjoy spending time with him. Nick, welcome, my friend. We're glad to have you join. I guess you were stuck in
Man, I
traffic.
thought we was
is
gonna
what
have to
we'll
pod
say.
without your takes, man. I need some terrible takes, so glad you can make it.
I've got the best takes.
We're gonna have to lie on your behalf. Well, let's get into the Samford game. We're gonna talk more thematic than we're gonna actually talk about the game. But before we do that, let's give our friends at Home Field Apparel a quick shout out. Visit homefieldapparel.com and use promo code Stadium and Gale, and you'll get 15% off of your order. It's almost Christmas time, Hanukkah season, Kwanzaa, gift giving time, whatever the holiday that you celebrate might be. Or maybe it's new wardrobe season. They do have sweaters and hoodies, things of that nature. Check out Home Field Apparel. Use promo code Stadium and Gale for the latest vintage wear that's amongst the most comfortable that I own. So again, homefieldapparel.com, promo code Stadium and Gale. The Gators sneak one out against the mighty Samford Bulldogs. The Gators are down at halftime, end up winning 70-52. And if I remember the stat correctly, that is the most points an FCS team has ever scored against an FBS team. The 70 points are the most the Gators have had in a number of years. But Nick, what was it like?
Thought we were going to have a press conference with Scott Strickland after the game and not with Dan Mullen, the way it was going at halftime. Kind of had the same feeling I had in Columbia when I was there for South Carolina, and just thinking, like, what is happening? How is this happening? I think you probably lost a good portion of the fan base, in Columbia when you lost that game the way that you did. And it was like the Leonardo DiCaprio gif from that Hollywood movie where he's like sees himself on the TV and he's pointing, and they're like, yeah, no, I told you this wasn't the guy. Florida obviously turned it around. I don't know what was said at halftime, turned it around. It's not a game that should be close. FCS teams only can offer 63 scholarships. So not only do you have more talent, they're outgunned and outmanned. They don't even have as many players as you have. Not to mention the talent level. So to me, it was just a disaster. I talked about last Monday.
NFL throws been thrown out there, man. There
were some good throws. That one of those touchdowns. I mean, that's a Sunday throw from that kid. I don't even know his name.
Well, just do it on us though. Like, they do Sunday throws on everybody
Welch
else.
was his last name, I believe.
Liam. I remember his name now, Liam, because I thought some kid named Liam is doing this to the Florida Gators.
Mm-hmm. I will give a shout out to their wide receiver. I think his first name was Montreal Washington. Had a field day against the Gators. Was able to put some clips on his highlight reel that if he's trying to make an NFL roster one day, you're going to see a lot of Avery Helm and Jadarius Perkins on the opposite side of that. But credit where credit's due, Montreal Washington and Liam Welch had a fantastic day against the Christian Robinson coached Gators defense. The game was chock full of errors all across from the beginning to I guess about 6 minutes left in the third quarter when the Gators finally took a lead and then somewhat ran away with it. The run defense looked poor. Pass defense looked atrocious. Offense, scored, I believe, on every possession but two. But outside of that, the team looked like they've given up. And I never like to say the players have given up because I know that they're sacrificing their bodies, but it just didn't look like a team that was mentally ready or mentally desired to play that game.
Nick, how do you feel about Christian Robinson calling the defense now?
I think it was a great opportunity. And I don't know that
opportunities can be blown too. That's the thing.
Sure thing. There was one play where Florida had to burn a timeout, and I think it was on a goal line play, and Mullen was yelling. Mullen and Robinson Florida didn't have the personnel on the right personnel on. They were about to get a 12-man on the field penalty, and both of them ran on. They're yelling at the guys. We talked to Zach Carter, talked to Mahmoud Diabate about it. They said that they loved playing for C-Rob. It was a fresh voice, that they were all amped. They were excited for it. It certainly didn't look like it didn't translate to play. So if that was Christian Robinson's audition, I think he fell off the stage. I don't know if they'll let him get back on the stage and continue auditioning these next 2 weeks, but yeah, it's certainly.
He's been a P5 coach for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm an offensive coordinator for a JV team, I might be like chomping at the bit a little bit and blushing. Seeing a guy I know calling defense that has been a P5 coach of a not so good unit. And I mean, guys, you gotta respect those guys on the other side of the ball. I don't know who that offense coordinator is, but I'm pretty sure he's been doing this longer than 4 or 5 years, and was probably excited to see Todd Grantham's protege. He's probably excited about Todd, but get his protege.
That's not you don't put that, especially that first half. The second half they were all right. The first half you're not putting that on your coaching reel when you send it out to try to get a job after this year or in the future. I don't know if they quit, because if you say they quit, well then they unquit in the second half, because the defense only allowed.
No, I ain't say quit. I think that Dan said quit. Okay.
Dan did.
My bad.
I didn't say quit. I said I never like to say that they did. I said that they didn't look like they were mentally checked into the game.
So they checked in at halftime.
Potentially. Nick, I don't know what happened. Samford's not a good team, right? Samford was literally 5-4. No, they were 4-5. I'm sorry.
Florida's not a good team either. It was just a couple 4 and 5 teams trying to have fun.
It's a different team, a not good Florida team, and a not good Samford team. It should be still a pretty large margin.
Right.
Listen, I'm not taking the defending.
They shouldn't score more than 20 points just because we got better people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we should be able to bully them people around the field. Like, we could have not practiced all week and should have put up a better performance than that. They said we had a good week of practice. I was like, what?
That's the second week in a row they've had a good week of practice, huh?
I mean, shout out to them. We got the win. I do want to congratulate them guys on the win.
Yep.
But this is a terrible football team, and that's just not a good sign with the last 2 games going forward. I just don't foresee us going unscathed in these last 2. And I kind of brought me a coaching board. What's up?
Silk, I know that you're a big trivia guy. Do you know the only team in UF school history that scored 42 points against the Gators in a half? Ever?
That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that only one time ever has an FBS team allowed an FCS team to allow 42 points in a quarter? And that was North Texas back in 2015, which was coached by former Gators defensive line coach. He was immediately fired after that game. Dan Mullen was not immediately fired after this game.
We're on the wrong side of history a lot this year.
Mm-hmm. But being on the right side of history, Emory Jones sets the record for most yards in a game by a Florida Gators quarterback. I think he ends up, it was 18 yards shy of breaking the pass yard record in a game for the University of Florida, but does end up with the most total yards. The Gators end up with 717 yards, 10.39 yards per play on 69 plays during that game. Dameon Pierce, again, looked like your best running back. And Corey, do you want to guess how many touches he had? More or less than 10?
Oh, less. You can't give him more than 10. That's crazy. You're going to get tired. You got to give him some rest. It's been a rough season.
He was the third running back into the game as well.
Correct. Nick, you love trivia too. Do you know who Pro Football Focus has ranked as the number 1 running back in college football this year?
Dameon Pierce.
They sure do.
So shout out to Emory Jones and all his stats, right? Like, I'm like that. He had a good game. He had his best game. But is that the identity of what we thought this team was going to be this year?
Mm-mm.
What we saw even versus Samford?
No, you thought, I mean, and it comes up again this week. I thought, we talked about it all offseason. The identity of this team is going to be to run the ball, whether it's running backs, because you have 5, or quarterbacks, 2 of them that can run. You're facing a team in Missouri who's 129th in rushing defense this Saturday. And I almost go into that fully expecting Florida to throw the ball for the first 10 plays. And then asked Dan about it after the game. He says, well, they were stacking the box. And it's like, well, they're stacking the box because they can't stop a nosebleed with an entire box of Kleenex. So run the ball at those 9 guys in the box. They aren't stopping it.
Or is it still ego stuff?
I don't know, man. There's like they have a decent passing defense, and everything else is terrible. And I fully expect Florida to not to go into Columbia and not to run the ball because they'll put 8 in the box trying to stop the run, which they haven't done in 10 games this year.
I saw Missouri's running
back.
back.
No, y'all didn't bring coaching boards.
There's
There's no way he goes
about
unscathed. I think one of these 2 games he takes it out. Just the trajectory with what we're playing, how we're playing. I know they wanted to win. The players got to celebrate and do their thing this past weekend. And my take on that is, like, you got to read the room. I think reading the room starts at the top. I think those guys can celebrate whatever they want to celebrate, but recording it and putting it on social medias is just not the vibes. You got to read the tone of the program, the tone of where the coach is at. DC's getting fired. You just let out for a record amount of points to a FCS school. I just don't think you guys celebrate in private, but putting it out on socials and letting it leak out like that was a bit much. And I don't think that was on accident. And there's a little arrogance around that. Just a lot of like weirdness, I think, with that aspect of it. But the way we're playing football, I don't foresee us beating a Florida State team that seems to be bought in, playing with a little bit of more momentum and just a different energy than we are. They don't look flat coming out. And then Missouri beat South Carolina this past weekend, correct? They look like 2 teams that are playing better at the end of the year, and we just struggled with Samford. So the future's not looking bright with this season. So I brought a board a little bit. It's like short. Yeah. Got Mario on
it. Let's break down your board, Silk. Before we do that, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time Sidekicks, GameTimeSidekicks.com. Vacuum sealed cups, whether they're tumblers, whether they're shakers for your protein, whether they're large or small, a bunch of different colleges. I think over 350 different brands that you can choose from. Check out GameTimeSidekicks.com. Use promo code STADIUM. Get 10% off your order. Would make a great present for a boss or a coworker around the holidays, a son or a daughter, maybe even a mom or dad. Really great products, really great just viability, durability, everything else. Really great product. GameTimeSidekicks.com, promo code STADIUM. Silk, give us your hot board, and then I got a couple names I want to talk about as well.
I just got Mario right now. I do think it's interesting. It's like, there ain't a lot of hot names out there. I think that's the hottest name. Do I think we go get Mario? No. I think Nike can match anybody's money, and I think they got resources and administrative support that's crazy out there. So I don't think that's an option. What are you thinking, coaching wise?
That's a great question. So I go back to.
I also think that Penn State jobs are going to come available, and our coach may be a candidate for that.
So that's something that there's a couple things I want to say, and I've said it on the show, and I'll say it again this week. I think that if Dan Mullen loses one game, there's no choice but for Florida to let him go. I also think that there is a very strong chance that if there is a certain number of opportunities, including that Penn State job, and if I'm James Franklin, I get out of Penn State, this is your opportunity if you have the chance to go try something else, to go make some more money somewhere else. Penn State, I think that he's always going to be the same kind of coach there. I also don't think that James Franklin is an elite coach. I think that he's a pretty good recruiter. I think that he's, good at developing, some talent. But, if the USC job is open for him, although, they might be swap the Aranda way.
If you could give Dan Mullins Franklin's recruiting ability, you might have a complete coach.
Yes. So this is what I think could happen. You're right. If James Franklin leaves, I see Dan Mullen and Penn State as a very obvious connection. I can see, some other opportunities potentially for Dan Mullen if he wants to leave that way. I don't think Dan Mullen really needs the money, although I know that obviously walking away from $12 million, is a lot of money and it's generational money and everything else. Dan Mullen has made a lot of money for a lot of years. So I'm curious to see how important that, $12 million could be, whether he says, I'll walk away, not worry about it. There's a couple names
he's not going to walk away. He's going to make C-Rod to DC.
yeah.
Make him fire you, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like. I just feel like he's trying to get fired, bro. There's no way that Samford team should be putting up that many points.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry, bro. I'm not buying that. I don't care who we got on the field.
There's some names that I know a lot of people are talking about. Billy Napier is one of them, the coach at Louisiana. He's in his 4th season, I believe. He worked at Clemson and Alabama, has been doing quite well at Louisiana, known as a tenacious recruiter. Probably a guy that would have to build a completely new staff of folks. I think that would probably be a requirement. Dave Aranda is a guy that's starting to pop up a lot more, the head coach at Baylor. He started off, pretty poorly over there, just probably based on the situation at hand that he was dealt. But he seems to be starting to turn some eyeballs, including that USC job. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some other names that I know people are talking about.
What about
that are realistic?
Do you think we're a realistic opportunity for Fickle? Or
I
do you
don't
think
know.
Fickle would leave to go anywhere besides
I don't know. I mean, Luke Fickle has always been a Midwest guy, right? He's an Ohio guy. He's never really explored too far out of, that area. Let me check his, obviously I know he was at Ohio State for quite some time. He's from Columbus, Ohio. The job at Cincinnati pays pretty well. He's been with Ohio State, Akron, Ohio State, and Cincinnati, right? He's never even coached outside of the state of Ohio. Do I think it's a possibility? Maybe, but I don't know if, his personality, what he's looking for in a school and Luke Fickle match. Same with Mel Tucker. I don't know if Mel Tucker is a guy that Florida's going to look at. He's a guy that's, did okay at Colorado, Michigan State, struggled his first year. This year has them humming along pretty well in the college football playoff conversation. But again, a guy that's not really proven a ton in terms of his CEO like abilities. And that's the question mark that I have is, so you said, there's not a lot of great candidates out there. There's 4 coaches in college football that have won a national championship. One of them's Mac Brown. So I don't know who that choice is, but at the end of the day, I was having this conversation with some friends while we were watching the game. You can't let the threat of somebody not being as good as what you have mean that there's an acceptance that what's happening now is okay.
Right. I mean, has that timetable dropped a little bit, especially with the playoffs, not just the playoffs, but I mean free agency. The way recruiting is, the port is, has that time to flip a roster? Because Lake got fired as well. Jimmy Lake out at Washington, he got let go.
I think he
Greg O had
issues.
a lot of shenanigans going on.
Mm-hmm.
What did he have issue? What did
he had some issues with punching a player. Another issue.
They gotta let him go.
Yeah, he had an issue. It was during a game, and it was like a push to the helmet kind of punch type of thing. But I think he had another issue of some verbal or physical abuse during some games. I think that there was some issue mounting beyond just Washington's performance. Now, who knows as a DC candidate? I don't know if Scott Strickland wants to go down that route right now with everything else. And we'll talk about that here in a bit. But he's a fantastic defense coordinator wherever. I'm sure he'll end up at Alabama for a couple of years, but
it's interesting. So Miami just announced that they're parting ways with Blake James. AD, right. But if you get a new AD, Blake James is ready to give Manny a lifetime contract, it seemed like. So you might end up with a coaching search at Miami. And I think if Mario Cristobal has an offer from Miami, that's probably where he's going to go.
You think Mario Cristobal would leave Oregon for Miami?
Maybe. No, I mean, isn't that home?
Yeah, no, I get that.
Nah, man. I just
People
don't
make a
see
lot
it.
of moves to go
I
home.
think the future of college football is just infrastructure, administrative support, booster support. If he's trying, he could pretty much turn that thing into the Bama or the West out there. He don't have a whole lot of competition with the way he recruiting. To go to Miami and compete with Bama in South Florida and everybody else right there in South Florida doesn't make a lot of sense. Nike and what Nike doing with Phil and all those guys in Oregon, it just makes more sense. I don't foresee him coming to Miami. I don't foresee him leaving Oregon to go anywhere. I think they're about to be Bama or the West.
Other names that keep popping up, Lane Kiffin, which from a beat writer standpoint would love that level of sarcasm and snark.
But you get 2 years of fizzled out with Lane too. People keep saying like, and I'm not.
Lane will come in hot and quick, and people will be pissed off. Lane's never had a good defense.
He's in 2 years, and then you're gonna start getting some shenanigans. That's just what it is. He is who he is. His resume is what it is. Can he play call? Yeah, but his track record has been he fizzled out pretty quick. 2 years, peak. I'm out of there. I mean, that's what Dan Mullen just did. A few years of ball here, he kind of peaked out a little bit, in my opinion. But I'm not 100% bought in on the Lane. I want somebody with a little bit more stability.
Yeah.
Lane would be fun. Lane would be fun, but I think it would end in like a fiery mess.
Yeah, it's fun in the Mississippi school.
Yeah. And then another name, obviously he's already out there, Mel Tucker. I think Mel Tucker could be a guy, if you're looking at recruiting, he's a guy that could get you back right recruiting in the state.
You said Mel Tucker?
Mel Tucker from Michigan State.
He's got an extension though, right?
Yeah. Well, there's ways to get around that. You know, you get an extension. I don't know. There's not a real big sexy hire to go make. I don't know. I don't know if Dan Mullen has coached his last game yet. I think you probably have to win. He didn't seem like a guy today that was real worried about his job. And I mean, if I had a $12 million buyout, I probably wouldn't be worried.
Yeah, I was going to say 12 million reasons
why would
not
he
to.
be stressing?
Almost be rooting for him.
I get fired, I get a bonus. Like what?
Yeah,
That's nuts.
Like, bro, you know how bad I would be at work if I get fired. I know I get fired, I get a bonus.
Well, here's the other thing that I think Scott Strickland has to know this. On purpose. Has to know this and has to take this into account. Florida, they've already fired 2 of the 6, but Florida has 6 assistant coaching contracts that are up after the year.
Right.
To fill those, you either need to rehire the guys, the coaches that have gotten you to this point, or you're going to need to find people. You know, I think I might have said this when we have the defensive coordinator talk last week. You're going to have to hire people to jump on to a sinking ship, and whether that's actually the case or if that's the perception, you're going to be paying for that perception. So if you hire Dan Mullen, or if you leave Dan Mullen in his position now and go and hire new people, you're probably giving them 3-year contracts instead of the normal 2 that these assistants get, or you're paying them above market value because now they're leaving a place of security. We talked about Dan Lanning as a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why would Dan Lanning leave Georgia to come to Florida? You know, it doesn't make a lot of sense for him, given what's happening at Florida and what's happening at Georgia. So you're going to pay guys above market value or give them extra long contracts. And if you're at this position with Dan Mullen in 2022, it's still $12 million to fire him. It's going to be 12 if they fire him during the taping of this show, or if they fire him a year from now, even 2 years from now.
Outside of the money in the business of it, the reputation of what Florida football is on the judgment seat a little bit. It's a recruiting thing of Georgia snatching out our recruits, and it's a recruiting pitch of Florida don't really care about football like that. The coach is very nonchalant. They're cheering and celebrating wins versus Samford. Like, these guys don't really care about football. You want to come win a national title and compete for the best and compete with the best? Like, come to Georgia, come to LSU or somewhere else. But right now, there's a reputation on the trail that these guys ain't serious about football at the University of Florida. And I think that's just more dangerous than that money you're talking, because I mean, you are who you are on the recruiting trail, and that shit's starting to look like that. Like we look like we're not a serious program.
So I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think of these recruits now. Florida last competed for a national championship or a real threat to a national championship probably in 2009, we'll say. So that was 12 years ago. These guys are, they were 6 years old, probably not watching football. Florida's really struggled, to maintain that national, position, a chance to, not only, make the NFL, but compete for championships. And a lot of these players will never make the NFL. So your chance of convincing a lot of guys is your ability to play in big games that matter and be a program that is, going to consistently, put out a great product. And what I fear is Florida is really starting to lose their ability to be a program that people can say that's a school that can be a national contending winning program. Whether it's a commitment to the program, I know they're dumping a lot of money in facilities, but from what I've seen over the last 11 years is a lack of commitment to football. I've seen a lack of commitment to making necessary changes when they need to be made. And what I'm now seeing is a program that's struggling beyond just football. And I have a very strong feeling that if Florida doesn't correct it soon, they could be in a real purgatory for a long time. In a school in the state of Florida with the amount of money and the boosters and everything else that Florida has should never be this long in purgatory.
Yeah, I think at this point you just gotta have a sense of pride for the program. The coach, this staff gotta have a sense of pride of like Kirby coming in and snatching your lunch and stuff in the locker ain't cool and okay because you clearly can't outsmart them. It's no sense of pride around the program. When the media is all harping on the recruiting season and the small thing that Dan's doing, that should create a reputation. Like you are what these clips are, you are what people are saying, media is saying you are. So right now, that's the most dangerous thing. I don't know how serious we are about football, and neither is the recruits.
I mean, Florida right now sits in a position where they're going to not get another 5-star this season, which outside of Jason Marshall,
there's never a reason
season,
Florida State should be out recruiting you.
No,
it's just no. Even Miami,
Florida State hasn't made a bowl in about 3 years, and it's
right. It's just no excuse. It's just no excuse. Miami, a team that you beat, or a team that isn't putting out draft prospects like we are. We just had a better product to sell these last few years, all the way around, and all you see is just blown opportunities to really take or at least level up in this state a little bit. Because Bama, everybody comes here to hang out a little bit, but we had an opportunity to step up with this logo and do some things, but we just blown it by being not serious about everything.
Yep. And now Florida has lost Julian Humphrey to Georgia, Shamar James to Georgia, and Raymond Cantrell, a 2023 guy, to Georgia. Those are Florida's two most highly rated recruits from 2021 or 2022, pardon me, and a 4-star top 100 guy from 2023. So Florida's losing their biggest, talented and best prospects to their biggest rival. And they're not doing anything about it. The lack of development is effervescent. When you talk about, Florida across the board, they're not able to recruit. Yes, they're able to get some guys out of the transfer portal. And I really wonder if the transfer portal wasn't a thing, how bad would Florida be right now? When you think of playmakers, when you think of the depth guys and the quality guys at defensive tackle, at corner, the Gators are held together by transfer portal that if it didn't exist, they would be atrocious.
Yeah, but that's almost not fair because it is.
I get that, but I'm just saying in general.
But this recruiting class, so if you're sticking with Dan Mullen this year, this recruiting class coming in isn't going to help you a ton. Are you almost saying then if you're the AD, hey, we've got to stick with him for 2 years to get another class in? And if you're looking at this class, you're going to have to hold on.
There's no class worth just getting your reputation and just setting your program back more and more. Like there's no kid in any of these classes that important.
I don't know, and obviously
we
there's
don't
still
have a
games.
recruit committee that important for us.
No, but I don't know that necessarily that Scott Strickland's there yet. So like I think if Florida goes out,
Working.
And if Florida goes out,
I know he's not there. I mean, he's not on Twitter.
I see him every Saturday. If Florida goes out and handles business Saturday, let's say they win these next two games 42-7. I think Dan Mullen's back. I don't know if Scott Strickland's there. Wins. Although I'm sitting there, I'm watching the game Saturday, and I'm thinking like, if South Carolina didn't open your eyes, like this is someone's holding your eyes open, against your will, and saying, "Hey, watch this."
To be all honest, man, I think Scott Strickland's seat's hot a little bit too, so it's hard to judge all of that. Like, how hot is Dan Mullen's seat, or is he really that safe? Because, like, Scott, what is Scott? I don't know how hot Scott shit is, right?
Yeah, we got some more stuff out on Monday about Scott and the women's basketball program and all that.
Yeah, let's talk about that after. I don't know.
It sounds like you guys are like you're done though.
I'm done. I mean, I wanted
done with Dan Mullen.
I said during the game that what I saw on Saturday is a lack of effort from coaching to motivate this team. And I'm not going to blame players, right? These are guys you recruited. If you can't get them ready and jazzed up to not beat the crap out of Samford, right? You let up the most points in a quarter your school has ever in a half that your school has ever let up. And it was against a 4-5 FCS Samford team. Half the table didn't even know where Samford was, like what state it was in.
Alabama.
Right. I mean, if you would have told me that Florida got a record set against them by a former Bobby Bowden school, 99 out of 100 people, 99 million out of 1 billion people would say that was Florida State. And Florida looked like shit. I'm sorry. They looked like absolute crap on Saturday.
It was embarrassing.
Like
it's an embarrassing brand of football, man. Like, I don't understand how somebody said the president came out and said that told Dan Mullen he's doing fine. I don't know how true that was, but bro, I cannot take this serious. I gotta go to the green market. I cannot be sitting around. The weather's nice this time of year. It's November. I cannot sit around and watch a non-serious football program. Just can't do it, bro.
How was it Saturday?
And what
the
was
green
it?
market? It's nice, man. Got some granola.
No, I mean, why would you, right? I mean, if you're somebody that has things that they can do, why would you choose right now to watch Florida football? Other than you care about your alma mater or it's like a habit. They're not enjoyable. It's not fun.
That's what I was talking to Matt Baker about it, and the year they fired Willie Taggart, he said, before the year, he's like, Willie's not coaching for his job. FSU's broke; they can't afford this. And I think they set like record lows in attendance, and we've said this on the podcast before. These are Fortune 500 companies. Mm-hmm. When the stockholders start selling their shares in the form of not buying season tickets, not showing up to games, that's when you have to go ahead and make a move. There was a great crowd Friday or Saturday. They showed up late. Obviously, I mean, it was raining. It was raining from 8 a.m. till kickoff. But it was a good crowd. I don't know, but like you said, Scott might be on his own hot seat, and the president's got his own thing going on. So it's just like top to bottom right now. Not great.
I mean, I'll give Dan Mullen another year if they fire Scott Strickland.
I don't know if you do that. I mean, that's, Jim McElwain without death threats might still be here if Jeremy Foley hadn't stepped down. That was a guy that he stuck with.
Has Foley stepped down?
It's Foley still in the building.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm more mad at Scott Strickland's employment at the university.
I don't know what's going on. Right?
I'm more upset that Scott Strickland is still employed by the University of Florida than Dan Mullen.
I mean, yeah, you should, because his like what he allowed is way more egregious, right? Well, I'm not gonna say allowed, but kind of allowed. Some things happened on his watch that just I don't know how he could still have a job title. Having him step down just like seems imminent because what is it, Alligator Army?
No, just the Independent Florida Alligator, the UF newspaper.
Man, they got something new every week. It's like a new mixtape. They're like Lil Wayne in his prime. He got a new one every week.
The Alligators putting out the Drought 3. Alligator, Zach Huber, I believe it's the same writer that broke the story a few weeks ago. We heard a deafening silence. I know that he pulled his buddies, Mark Long and a few others, into a private meeting where he admitted that they did some things that were faulty, but never publicly addressed the situation. And I know that there's some question marks, and I know that there's some investigation, and I know that they're probably being advised to not do or say anything. But Zach Huber put out an article today that was from a former player's parent, I believe, BB Staples, the mother of former Gator player Corey Staples, that a number of things, that Cam Neubauer was even more verbally assaulting, and that they was a toxic environment that was very much detailed. But Strickland and Associate Athletic Director Linda Teeler both received multiple emails from BB Staples between January and March of 2019 explain the toxic culture, and that in the statement, Scott Strickland received reports about Neubauer's behavior during his first 2 years, but then said reports stopped. That BB Staples stopped getting responses from UF because UF was putting more structure around the coach. The reports did not come to a halt. There has been a number of incidents where it seems like Scott Strickland understood that there was a toxic environment. And what I think is the most bewildering to me is not only after you knew this to keep him employed, and I understand that there's investigations and you can't necessarily just fire people on allegations alone. But there's a lot of investigation that not only during that time did you give this coach an extension, you allowed him to resign for personal reasons, and basically give him a pat on the back and pump his tires a bit, and say how appreciative you were of his commitment to the University of Florida, knowing that this happened in the back end. If all of this is true,
insane. Man.
Yeah,
that's insane to me. Sorry.
I'm just saying, if all of this stuff is true, that's grounds, in my opinion, for termination. You cannot allow for
Can
verbal.
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I'm so confused because like everybody in some shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, so who the hell in charge? Who gonna fire these people?
Well, technically, Kent Fox, UF president, who
He's got his own stuff going on.
He's got his own stuff right now.
Right. So who fires him?
From
the
board of trustees.
Okay.
I believe Ron DeSantis might have that power too, but I got to double check that. But no, the board of trustees would have that responsibility to do that. So, but top to bottom, the UF athletic department is struggling right now.
Yeah, 3 additional professors joined the lawsuit against UF. So Fox is in his own issues right now.
What are the professors suing about? Professors.
They're political science professors who were asked to be paid witnesses in, I believe it was during the election, and about election fraud. They were being paid because they're political science professors at the University of Florida. They would be paid to give testimony for lawsuits there. Florida said you cannot do that. You can't be paid. So it's a whole First Amendment issue now. And Fox, I think it was 2 weeks ago or maybe 10 days ago, Florida reversed course and said you can do it. You can go be paid after, I kind of doubled down on that stance. So they're trying to fix it, but it sometimes a little too late.
For a program that's just been like extra strict on like just recruiting and the getting in, and it just seems like we've been a strickler with every little thing. This is like all of this is like wild to me because I just know how like strict we play things, dot I's, cross T's. So for like that to happen, it's like I'm a little dumbfounded, bro.
There's a lot going on behind closed doors, it would appear.
Yeah. So Nick, just to add some more clarity, there was a bill that was being voted on. Pardon me, I believe it passed, and it would restrict some mail-in voting and some in-person voting. Just a part of a Senate rule or Senate law that was passed. 3 UF professors were asked to be paid witnesses, including 2 professors that I actually had at the University of Florida. Shout out Sharon Austin. She was my favorite professor that I had, but they were invited to asked, to provide paid testimony. UF has a policy against getting involved as paid witnesses in political issues. UF then created a panel they reversed course. They said that they would allow them to present and that they would create this new board that would handle these cases moving forward and issue rulings and judgments on them. More issues and more backfire from those professors and the faculty senate about what UF is doing to potentially restrict free speech of their employees. So from Fox to Strickland to Mullen, there's a lot of issues going down at Florida, and none of which are particularly issues that would be easy to overcome, whether it's in the court of public appeal or not.
Yeah. So if you're trying to like piece together all of these, Legos or jigsaw puzzle, Dan's talking about, firing the AD. A new AD would probably want a new football coach. If the president's stepping down because of heat on his job,
he's going to be leaving probably next year anyway due to retirement.
How old? He's not that old, is he?
67, I believe. But his goal was to bring the University of Florida to a top 5. Yeah, and he was a provost at Cornell, said that was his goal. He's on an expiring contract in May, and it's my understanding.
Well, let everybody contract expire. Right, this is the expired contract.
It's better than firing them, right? You can just say, "Oh, we're just not sending a new one."
Mutual parting.
Yeah, Florida's going to have a lot of changes, right? I mean, that's Nick. You bring up a good point.
Sometimes you got to fire people. Sometimes the shit you did is just too egregious for you to step back in his office.
Right, but you have dominoes, right? I mean, and a university president is going to probably want an athletic director, that he's somewhat familiar with. I would imagine.
You got to give me somebody. Somebody got to go. Right now, everybody just vibing, man. Only person that fell on the sword is Grantham.
Just Grantham and Hevesy just both took the fall for UF, so fall from grace across the board. No, but no, you think of it, right? The athletic director probably wants to hire their own football coach. Yep. The university president wants to likely have their own athletic director, which I guess it depends on who that president is, of how important a prior or previous relationship is with that AD. But you can imagine that they've got to have a good, strong working relationship, regardless of the separation between the UAA and the university. So you replace the AD and then you replace the president. Maybe the president doesn't like the AD. Do you then have another change and you have an issue like Vanderbilt's had over the last few years? You bring in a new AD. He doesn't like the head coach. Fires Dan Mullen, let's just say, brings in a new coach. Hey, the new school president doesn't like the AD, brings in a new AD, that AD and whoever, replaces Dan Mullen, they don't get along, right? So you have a perpetual cycle here that is definitely murky over the next couple
That sounds like fun, Dan.
Yeah. But that doesn't alleviate my point that I still believe that this coaching staff should be fired. I believe the athletic director should be fired as well.
They finna get fired. Dan Mullen gonna go out his way to make sure they fire him, bro. Like, I don't know what y'all watching. We finna get a coach, man. He's gonna make sure of it. We about to see some egregious football.
Well,
Y'all
listen,
think y'all seen some egregious football? Like, okay.
It's going to be cold in Columbia. It's not, at least it's not like an 11 a.m. kickoff. At least that's not the case.
What
I
time do
want
we
to
have
win.
kickoff?
I don't ever
2
want
o'clock?
to lose a game. I'm not that person just cheering to lose to get a new coach, right? That's never me. I want to win every opportunity we line up for. But watching this team, watching the coaching energy, like I'm not believing it. It's not there. I think we take another L, and I think it's going to just be very apparent one of these L's that it's time to go.
Let's get into this.
Go
Missouri
follow
game.
Football Scoop. That's the best advice I got for y'all.
Yeah, and get yourself on flightaware.com and start tracking private planes.
for sure.
Listen, just kick back and enjoy some Mike White
fun.
basketball.
That's fun times, man. I'd rather track planes than watch. I'm not gonna do that right now. I'll watch Mike White. I'm sorry.
Watch Mike White. He's got a great
That
product.
is something that I never thought I'd hear Silk say ever. This is the desperate
I'm
times.
trying to be
we're
positive, man.
Blanco!
Man, he's 2-0. What you want me to do?
living. Oh man.
Positive person, man.
Blanco's going to win the SEC. He's going to bring you right back. So
Let's talk prizepicks.com real quick. Use promo code SG. You maybe are watching some other sports. Maybe you're watching MMA. Maybe you're watching boxing. Maybe you're watching NFL. Shout out to Miami Dolphins for a big win over the Ravens the other day. Maybe you're watching NHL hockey. The Lightning are currently winning. Not a big deal. And you want to make some picks. Maybe you want to do some in-game action. Visit prizepicks.com. Use promo code SG. Take a look at their lines and then make some friendly wagers on what's going on there. Missouri. Florida does play Missouri. Nick, what time is that game on Saturday?
4 o'clock Eastern.
Okay. So the Gators will go to beautiful Columbia, Missouri, play at 3 o'clock local time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. The Gators are playing a running back in Tyler Batty, who is only the third running back in SEC history to have 4 games of 200 yards rushing in a game or more. So the Gators will likely be dealing with that.
Yeah, Batty has 200 carries on the year for 1,239 yards, 12 touchdowns, averaging 20 carries a game, 123, almost 124 per game. This dude can run it. He had 258 on 46 carries against South Carolina, ran for 121 against Georgia, 284 against Vanderbilt, ran for 306 against North Texas, ran for 231 earlier in the year against Southeast Missouri State, and he ran for 211 and 2 touchdowns in the season opener. He gets carries. My guy just gets fed the ball. Lowest number of carries he's had this year in a game was 23.
So Nick,
Tyler Batty gets used the way that Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
He gets used the way Dameon Pierce should get used, probably.
So, game Central Michigan, North Texas, Vanderbilt, in South Carolina, all games where he gets more than 200 yards. He's averaging 6.2 yards per carry. And what I've seen teams that have far less at running back do against this Florida team, Florida's got to figure out a way to stop him, or they will get beat and beat badly.
Yeah. On the flip side, Missouri can't stop the run. They are near the bottom of the SEC and near the bottom in the country in every single defensive category. Might be in store for another shootout, a running shootout on Saturday.
I'm not looking forward to that. Let's see what we've got.
But there's not much that Florida has done. When you look at, and after I read those stats from Batty, there's not much that you've seen from Florida that would give you confidence to say, okay, well, Florida will hold him into that, that Georgia area of 121 yards, or that Boston College, Tennessee area. He only had 88 versus Boston College, 74.
It's depressing football. We just look like a bad football team. It's like I don't understand how we got here, bro. Like it's just like it was fast.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like we was at New Year's Six Bowl. We had a COVID year, and then we're like the last year of McElwain again.
Mm-hmm.
Check out my story. I broke it down. It was after South Carolina. I broke it down because it didn't make sense.
A great job.
It didn't make sense to me either. But then once I spent like 4 hours like going through and trying to figure everything out, which I didn't even include. Dan Mullen in this game last year was fined $25,000 for I don't even know what they called it. We'll call it inciting a riot before halftime when Kyle Trask was hit, in his opinion, late on a Hail Mary before halftime. Then he wore the Darth Vader outfit after this game. It was Halloween. People need to lighten up. But yeah, when you put everything that's happened since
we've been too light around here.
If you put everything together in the last year and you put it all into like one story, put it all in one piece of paper, you're like, that's exactly how it happens. Like one thing on top of the next, and then rolls into the next thing. It's been quite a fall from grace, a quick terminal velocity fall from grace.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's anything that's in place to stop it. I don't think that the Florida administration, I mean, you've got to think that the boosters or those that care. But what I'm seeing, Nick, is that there's people that care, but there's a lot of people that are very apathetic right now. And I just hope that those that do have the ability to espouse that change are not the people that are apathetic right now.
Hey, Utah's coming in game 1 next year.
Yeah.
Number 1 in the Pac-12. I don't know what that means. I don't watch much Pac-12 football.
Well, I mean, we were just talking about hiring a Pac-12 coach.
Might come in with this roster. A new coach might come in with this roster and get boat raced by Utah. Fan base might have to be patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Missouri's fighting for a bowl spot too. They're 5-5 right now. They have a game against Florida this week, a game against Arkansas next week. Arkansas is ranked 21 in the country. This might be their chance. So it's not like Missouri doesn't have anything to play for. They have just as much to play for as Florida does right now, and they've got a coach in Eli Drinkwitz that is recruiting pretty well, especially for Missouri standards. In Missouri is a team that has figured out what their identity is. And here we are on game 11. We don't know what Florida's identity is other than not very good. We're still not getting the best players the ball. We're still not utilizing the running backs effectively. And I am almost willing to bet that Florida loses. And I no longer think that Florida beats Florida State right now. I don't think Florida State's good, but
Florida State needs to win their next 2 to be bowl eligible. Florida just needs one of the next 2. The Samford win will count.
Yep. I did see that Brett McMurphy put out his bowl guesses today. And unfortunately, we're no longer heading to Charlotte, North Carolina. We're heading to Memphis, Tennessee, and the Liberty Bowl. Walking in Memphis.
I got some sightseeing to do in Memphis. I wouldn't mind going to Memphis.
Yeah.
I flew to Memphis last year to drive down to Oxford and found out that Memphis, I don't know if it's still accurate, but at the time, Memphis was the deadliest city in America.
I no longer believe that's the case, but
They had recently overtaken Chicago when I was there last August. I got out. I just left. I went straight to Oxford.
shout out to Memphis. Great food in Memphis.
Whole different kind of barbecue.
It is. It's a dry rub. The Mississippi River is right next to Memphis. So there's a little downtown boardwalk area. There is a Beale Street, which is like a similar, I guess, to Bourbon Street. There in New Orleans. A little bit. It's a little bit more like Ybor than Bourbon Street. But the street's blocked off and you have more jazz music and that kind of stuff. But it gets cold in Memphis. I was there for a wedding on a couple days after Christmas one year, and I believe it was a balmy 18 degrees outside. So definitely not a place that I aspire to go to in December.
What happened to
They
Nashville?
got they got the MLK. They got some like civil rights like sightseeing and historical spots like the where MLK got shot that
Mhm.
hotel. Things like that that I wouldn't mind going to see. That me and the wife got for the bucket list for the kids to take. So I wouldn't mind going to Memphis, but I'm definitely not going to this one. Like, I can't go watch a C-Rob defense in the cold.
You want to know what else they have? This is a fun fact that I learned the other day. They have the 7th tallest pyramid in the world, and it's a Bass Pro Shot right now. So,
Yeah, the Bass Pro Shot pyramids be off the chain. They kind of big.
yeah, this one. This is actually where the Grizzlies used to play back in the day. Yeah, it's a pyramid, 7th largest in the world. What I can imagine is behind Egypt and maybe some Aztec pyramids. But shout out to the pyramids in Memphis. Definitely a
I
sight
didn't
to
know
be
fishing
seen.
was that like, man. Shout out to fishing.
Shout out to Fishy and Bass Pro. Speaking of shout out to things, Silk, let's take us into to Manscaped and then be thinking about your song of the week.
I got a jingle or two in my mind. Shout out to the great folks at Brunt. Oh, not Brunt. Wrong read. Manscaped.com is my favorite ad read. How could I forget this? The best of the best when it comes to man grooming. Be sure to use promo code SG at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Jingle bells, jingle balls. It's holiday season. It's November. Get that man in your life, the Lawnmower 4.0, and keep those balls smooth as eggs all winter. Coupon code SG at checkout. Take care of them family jewels.
That was fantastic. I'm not sure if that was ad lib or if you had thought of that one before, but
Oh no, that's all off the hip. I freestyled that one.
I like that one.
Lil Wayne in the booth. It's never written down.
I'm the Lil Wayne of ad reads, Nick. In the grand scheme of it all, bro.
Hey, Dan Mullen football can't get you out of the booth.
No,
not at all.
Just as a reminder, before Silk does this, we will be in beautiful Jacksonville.
You struggled to get the words out of your mouth there. Beautiful Jacksonville.
I struggled to put the phrase "beautiful" in Jacksonville together, but I did. I am excited to visit and hang out with some Gator fans and Gator alumni in Jacksonville at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the day you're listening to this, the 16th. We'll be at the Mudville Grill on Beach Boulevard. So check us out. 6:30 today, whenever you're listening.
And Dan is doing a tour.
Not whenever you're listening.
Dan is doing a Duval tour. If you guys are interested, we're going to meet off of 95 in Moncrief. He's going to take us through the north side, give us a sightseeing, and then we're going to take it all the way to Jack's Beach.
If I'm not mistaken, Moncrief is the place that you told us there was an illustrious strip club.
Oh, no, Moncrief is where my grandmother lives.
Oh, very good. So probably know where the strip club is.
No, the strip club is, you talking about Silver Fox is closed now.
Oh,
great
man, rest in
establishment.
peace. I remember
rest
you
in
and the
peace to the
mod
Silver
talked about it
Fox.
a couple times.
Yeah, they had a rule there. You got tip, sip, or dip, Nick.
Tip, sip, or dip. Okay.
Tip, sip, or dip. You got to either be tipping this girl.
You're not watching.
Yeah, or just buying a drink. Tip. You got, or you be sipping or buying a drink, or you got to be leaving.
Yeah, this is not public television. You cannot just sit there and watch.
Public television.
This is not PBS.
That was a wild rule, man.
It sure was.
Tip, sip, or
not
dip,
a great
not
establishment.
PBS.
I was joking. Don't ever go there if they ever bring it back. What do I got? Is my song ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right. Take me out of here with Silent Ride, West Side Boogie. Silent Ride, West Side Boogie.
I was just going to invite you in a couple of weeks. Ja Rule is going to be performing here in Tampa.
Where we're gonna
Fire
be at
Festival?
Ritz?
No, he's going to be performing at a place called WTR. It's like a pool party place. So yeah, the Ja
Is it
Rule.
chill vibes or is it like Bender vibes?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both.
A little both.
Mm-hmm.
What day of the week is it?
A Saturday.
Oh, that sounds more enticing by the moment.
Yeah.
Pull up, check out Ja. I am like, this is a big Murder Inc. family over here. Like, we get into our Ja Rule Shanti bag over here in this house.
Well, the invite's open.
I got you. I might pull up.
And I believe it's right during the Florida State game, so it'll be a perfect time to
Get my
do
mind off
something
things.
different. Yeah. Oh man, I promise you guys will be more exciting one day.
Maybe.
And we know it has to happen for excitement to come back.
Plain search.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
Old-fashioned plain search.
FlightAware.com.
I hate FlightAware.
Oh man.
Hey,
All right,
same
boys.
point, same time, man.
See you boys tomorrow.
I can't think.